remember that Donald Trump, they asked him about Gavin Newsom. And I like the way Trump just matter-of-factly says something that could either be termed childish or outrageous or true. So they said, well, how about what's your relations with Gavin Newsom? He's a nice guy. Everybody knows he's utterly incompetent. Says that too. Utterly incompetent. No other politician would say that, but it's true.
Well, the biggest change from that statement is we have an incompetent governor. So I talked about governors, but I didn't talk about he's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states. And if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. You had a disaster happening. But you have a governor who let the city burn down, didn't want water to be sent down to him. And I sent billions of gallons of water. I wanted to do it in the first term. He wouldn't do it over, I don't know, they have environmental reasons, but there were no environmental reasons. I think it's just a political philosophy.
I think what I'm getting at is all the left wing, we are moral, we are for equality of result, we're for the little guy, we're for this. It all filters down, and that these people are horrible, they're oligarchs, they're garbage. I mean, think about the United States, garbage. What Biden called half the country garbage, chumps, dregs.
And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American. It's totally contrary to everything we've done, everything we've been.
Hillary called them deplorables and irredeemables. You know, Obama called them, guess you call clingers. Peter Strzok and Lisa Page said that you could smell them in Walmart. Same thing happened in Europe. There's European right-wing people are threatened all the time, and nobody stops it. And so it just filters down and it lowers the bar of acceptability. And the same thing with the riots. I mean, if you make your hero Obligard Garcia and you're told he's an M13 member, and you are told there's serious questions whether he really was in danger about his grandmother when he couldn't be, but that he had been involved himself in a plot to kill people. And if there's serious allegations that he was a trafficker on 100 different trips, and you make him a hero, then a lot of people start to think, I could be a hero. And you say you legitimize violence, so you're in the street and Gavin Newsom says that ICE is reckless, and it's chaotic, and Karen Bass says to people, this won't stand. We're not going to let this stand. And Representative Torres, I guess her name is, she says, get the F out of here. Or Maxine Olsen tries to go into it. What I'm getting at is they create the atmospherics that allow people to come out of the woodwork and shoot people on the assumption that they're either delusional and they think it's okay and there won't be any ramifications, or they think if they're caught, they'll be famous. They'll get somebody like Taylor Lorenz to interview Mangione, and she said, basically he was cute. Remember the Sarnoff brothers? They put one of the brothers on Rolling Stone as if he was a heartthrob. She is going to go down, really, when you start to look at this, as one of the biggest fraud and crooks in our generation. $20 million to one of her friends in a law firm. For what? For voting irregularity or something. You get on election denialism. This is a woman who for 2 years said that she was the governor of Georgia. She lost by 50,000 votes to Kemp. And yet she went around and she was feted by everybody as the real governor. So she's never really won anything since she was a state representative. She's failed in everything she's run for. And yet she's a heartthrob of the left for some reason. I don't know why that is, but she's not very competent. She's not an appealing character. She's hard left. But she's up there with Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in grifting. And how she gets away with it, I don't know. We're dealing with a 2.1, somewhere between 1.9 and 2.1 budget deficit, and that crazy Biden team printed $7 trillion before they were done. And that money was just lavished on all of these left-wing people. And nobody's asking for it to be paid back. There's no accounting. So there should be an investigation of her and her financial impropriety. There really should be.
If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content.
Remember, as I said earlier, no one person is more responsible for California's decline than Gavin Newsom.
Is part of this that voters are so fed up with what they see on the streets of their cities that as a politician, you've got to clean up those streets?
Yeah, well, that's generally the case, but that's not the inspiration for Care Court.
But is there a political factor in this for you?
As an electoral strategy, I'm termed out. That's not the issue. The politics here is compassion. The politics is purpose.
You may be termed out here, but does cleaning up the streets of California factor into a potential presidential run?
I'm never going to overpromise that in the short run. I mean, we are struggling in this state.
You're not answering my question.
Homelessness, no. Housing and homelessness.
People suggest that cleaning up California streets could be part of a larger political strategy for you.
I think that's table stakes. I think that's just a foundational responsibility of anyone that gets into my position. That's the day job. It's not about some grand ambition. Absolutely not.
Is that a yes or a no?
That was a never-ending response to your question.
Maybe Jerry Brown, who was mayor of Oakland and had been governor and was governor twice and mayor of Oakland. But Gavin Newsom was 8 years a city council person, 8 years a lieutenant governor, 8 years a mayor, and he will be 8 years a governor. So he'll have 32 years in the Bay Area, whereas Bay Area, not LA, is now with Silicon Valley money and left-wing, but that's what runs California. So he's more responsible, and he has been overseeing all the regulations that we're going to get rid of refineries, and he bullied them and bullied them and bullied them. You got to have the California Air Resources Board does this, and you have to have this blend, and you have to do that. And finally they said, you know what? We're going to go somewhere else. You keep importing oil from the Saudis, and you're going to have to, import gas from Nevada or, I don't know, Arizona. Go ahead, and Texas, I don't know. But we're not going to do it anymore. And that whole Richmond corridor for Northern California, they're going to leave. And gas will go up to about $8 a gallon, and all the left-wing millionaires along the coastal corridor will be happy. But he's going to panic because they're going to look at that when he wants to run for president, and his Democratic primary rivals will bring it up. What's the price of cal? That's what Ron DeSantis did when he beat him in that debate. What's the price of gas? How many people have left California versus Florida? What's your tax rate versus ours? Here's how many people you have, and here's your budget, and here's how many people we have in our budget. And he's done all of that. And so remember that line in Animal House where, what was that guy's name? I know everybody knows. Dean Wormel, or what? Wormer? Yeah, he says to the fat...
Dean Wormer.
Going through life fat, lazy, and ugly. Is that what he says? Fat, ugly, and lazy is nowhere to go through life. I feel like somebody should say being incoherent, incompetent, and I don't know what else, corrupt, is no way to go through being a governor, Gavin, because everything you've done, from high-speed rail to the tax rate at 13.3 to gasoline tax that you're now increasing, it's going to be it is the highest in the nation, to 40 cents a kilowatt, to Stonehenge high-speed rail, to we drove home today from Menlo Park on the 152 from Gilroy to Casa de Fruta. Hasn't changed in 60 years, 70 years. I remember going 3 or 4 years old, 4 years old, and that's your legacy. And the LA fire, the Aspen fire, the Paradise fire, all of that, you took paradise and you made it into purgatory. That's what you did. And then you, every once in a while, went to Napa wine tasting while people were trying to get a permit in LA, and you went to the French Laundry while you shut down everybody else. And you can't help but you're living in a $9 million house. Your wife has government contracts. You were a Nepo baby that got everything from the Getty family. And now you're kind of a caricature. He does that little neck thing. What is that? He goes back and forth with his neck. It doesn't work anymore, Gavin. The hair slicker and the vat, all that doesn't work. Every once in a while, you put on your Abercrombie and Fish work clothes and you go out by that nightmare train yard by the port of LA. Remember where they loot everything, and then he picks up with his little gloves, or he goes to the Paradise Fire and he digs a little ash and puts it in a bucket or something. It doesn't work anymore. You're just a total failure. You destroyed the most successful, most beautiful state in the world. And the only reason it's even viable is because people unlike you, Pat Brown, whom was a Democrat, but he was a good governor, Ronald Reagan, George DeMasian, Pete Wilson, they built the state. And you're living on their work, and you're trying to destroy it, but they were so, I don't know, so industrious and so imaginative that it's very hard to destroy in just your 32 years and as a public official to destroy it. But you're managing. He's got a little bit more to go. What will come up next? We just had a California gas tax going into effect, a new one. I think it was already $1.50 cents. It's going to go up 65 cents. We're going to get up to $8 a gallon because the refineries are leaving. We lost 2 big refineries. Who gets hurt by that? Not Gavin Newsom, not Nancy Pelosi, not Barbara Boxer, not any of these people. It's going to be poor people. But they never think environmentalism. They always thought, we're for the poor. We're worried about. No, you're not. You've made prices almost impossible to buy a house. Now Gavin Newsom is actually, so many people have said this, that the freeways are starting to look normal here in California. You go down 41 in Fresno, there's no homeless, there's no cavemen anymore. They were burrowing into the side of the hill above the freeways. Yeah, people living in underground, kind of subterranean, and that's cleaned up. There's no trash. I see the graffiti is less common. He's getting ready for a presidential run, and he's forced through the legislature a relaxation of coastal commission and resources boards to the extent they can't build houses. Now, they have things in California no one would believe. You have to use certain types of building materials that don't impact the environment, certain drywall, certain sheet, all this stuff. A lot of developers I know, they film every house, and when it's being built, they film it because they're afraid they're going to be sued by the government or the homeowner. And so they can show, this is what we did, here's the materials, here's the labor, here's how it was built. And it's very important to really call these environmentalists out. They don't care about people. They don't like people. And you can really see it where I just went to Huntington Lake. We had the Aspen fire, I think 4 years ago, and we had these ancient leases by these wonderful people who were custodians of the forest. Modest little 100-year-old cabins. 80 or 90 of them burned down. Did the government come in and said, we're going to give you the lease and we want you to rebuild? No. They almost encouraged people not to rebuild. About half of them didn't. And then they went and said, you're going to restore that to the pristine conditions of 1912. Take up the slab. And they charge them $60,000 or $70,000. They had to get environmental experts to come in. But those people were great for the forest because every time you would go on these little back roads around the lake, you'd see people picking up garbage, or they would clean the forest. They were wonderful custodians. So this idea that people are somehow antithetical to the wilderness, it's not true at all. They want people who have enough, they want a person with 2 types of characteristics. They have to have enough money that they can have their ideology implemented on us, the lab rats, with no effect on themselves because of their money or zip code. And then they have to, because a lot of them are secularists, they have to believe that their credentials, I'm a state biologist, I did my forestry work at Berkeley, or I'm working on the impact of large particulate matter in underserved communities. I did my environmental studies degree at Stanford. Those type of people with all the letters after their names that have a moral smugness, sanctimonious self-righteousness. And they don't care about people. They really don't. And that's what's so strange about Trump. The only thing I get back on the messaging, if they can get the right messaging and point that out, that environmentalism is an elite attack on the middle classes. It's by people who are not subject to the consequences of if he can just drill that in. And when he does things like executive orders, he can just say, listen, I want to know what the rules are. I didn't create the rules. Barack Obama's the one that said phone and pen, executive orders. You guys are the ones that did with Joe Biden. I'm just following. I am not out for revenge. You were the people who went after Fox News and made them pay multi-billion, not me going after CBS. You started it. I just want to know what the rules are, because all I'm doing is following precedent. I'm not doing anything new. I'm just following and I'm not doing a lot what you do. I don't want to go into Jill Biden's underwear grow. I do not want Kash Patel to get a SWAT team and go into Hunter Biden's house. I'm not going to do that. That's what you people do. And that's what he needs to do. And I think he needs to get that message across that he is not MAGA extremist. He's just following the precedents that he inherited. And he wants to know what the rules are because they created them. Why do you have an open border? Why do you have high crime rates? Why do you have something like the Afghan pullout? It's because of an ideology. And that ideology politically is called progressive social communism. And it is internally DEI, woke, radical, and we're going to address that. The roots. So we're going to go in and we're going to challenge these silk stocking law firms. We're going to go in and challenge the universities. We're going to go to the root causes that have done such damage. And that's what the left is really angry about, because they're thinking, wow, we know we don't have the people. We can't win on the issues. There's 30 to 70 issues, but we do control the media, the universities, K through 12, foundations, PBS, NPR, USAID, and he's going after our sources of power. This is nuts. How dare he do that? And that's what this is, a counter-revolution that we've never seen before. There's so many things in there that's what the left's is angry about, that it's supposed to be mostly a budget bill, and there's so many things, from the wall to remittance taxes to extension of the tax cuts to dealing with the universities and the public schools. You know, all of us went to public schools, and I insisted my children all go to public schools, even though they were kind of wild by the time they were of age. But the public schools are not the public schools anymore. So all of these, I think most people believe now that private schools do a better job, especially in blue cities. It's just, when you have the teachers unions and you are using the public schools to indoctrinate people, and why is that happening? Because they're all trained at these schools of education, and they certify people. You can be a math whiz. You can be a genius in Phi Beta Kappa in math. You can get a master's degree from Harvard in math, and you can't teach math in a California school unless you're credentialed. And if you go through those credentialing programs, they're not like they were 50 years ago. They're things like, what color is this person? What's the new Green Deal? That's what they're doing. And that comes as, again, it's an act of commission, but it's an act of omission. They don't know anything, these teachers. Just think of a public schools with millions of Randy Weingarten.
Oh my God.
If you enjoyed today's video on inner vision, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below.